What's going on, folks? Eddie Carrington, Mayor of Flux City, and I am about to eat me some lunch. I am definitely parched and starving. So I ended up going to the Detroit Pepper Company and got me a rice bowl and a ginger lemonade. Let's see how the ginger lemonade tastes. It's pretty good, spicy, but it's pretty decent. But overall, this menu that they have over at the Detroit Pepper Company is really good. But every time I go into the restaurant, it's always the owner working. There's usually nobody other than the owner working in this establishment. And recently, he was shouted out by a famous YouTuber who goes around and critiques local small businesses and their food. And so all of a sudden now, this individual and this organization is starting to get a different type of crowd, more business as well as different, customers from different parts of the state that weren't really hip to what they offered. And one of the questions I asked them today, I said, "Man, it's always you in here working. You need some help. You need to get more people hired in order to allow for you to be able to keep up." As I'm in there, his phone is ringing off the chain. Customer after customer is coming in, placing orders, and he's a one man shop at this point. And I can tell he was a bit burned out, even as of roughly 12 o'clock. He's just focused on getting his orders completed, and in some cases not even accepting new orders due to the amount of volume that was coming in from the phone and from walk-ins. So talking to him in between his orders, and he tells me that he's hired over 60 people in the last 5 years since he's been opened. And out of those 60 individuals, nobody is still working for him. A majority of the individuals would come in and work for a few days and wouldn't even make it to their first paycheck. It also costs this business owner $125 per person he submits into the payroll system. So he was a bit frustrated, to say the least, because of how hard it is for him to find good workers in 2024. And this isn't the only story that I've heard from small businesses similar to what he does. He's a restaurant and or food service, more specifically. It's really to go only in this space. But we are facing a pandemic in terms of finding good workers that are attracted to working at these small businesses for one reason or another. But when it comes to the food service industry, once again, this is a story that I continue to hear day in and day out when I'm talking to potential tenants of a project that I'm working on here on the east side. And one of their biggest concerns is the inability to attract staff to in turn be able to execute their vision the way they want to execute it within budget. But I'm not sure what the solution is for what these small businesses are facing now, other than the migrant crisis. And this may be a bit of a controversial topic, but these asylum seekers and this migrant crisis that America is facing. What if the government figures out a way to offer citizenship in one format or another to these individuals that are coming from abroad, if they were to work within certain industries, with food service and hospitality being one of them? Not, once again, a topic that I'm trying to dive into too heavily here, but we got to figure out something, because a lot of these small businesses are having the hardest time tracking down and attracting employees to in turn allow for them to operate, to expand, and it's potentially going to be a crisis that small businesses are facing, more so in the next few years than we've ever witnessed. I'm rambling on a lot of stuff that I don't necessarily know what I'm talking about for the most part, but with that said, let's check the site out.
We've got some ductwork that's getting built right now. So there's a couple things that go into it. This is obviously a much larger duct. It's going to be feeding our mechanical shafts in the hallways. And as you can see, they've actually wrapped it in insulation. So with bigger duct and the possibility of running a hot or cold air through it, you have to insulate the ductwork. Even if it's cold air, the ductwork will sweat, meaning that it'll condensate on the outside if it's really cold air. So regardless of heat or cold, they've got to insulate that ductwork. Here, these are kind of ductwork sleeves. So when they're connecting pieces of ductwork, you can notice that they've got the flanges here. These flanges actually fit over each side of the duct, so they'll run along that lip, and then when we connect them, they'll run along each side of the lip, and then they close them, and that connects your ductwork. Just a really easy, like, metal sleeve to basically connect them. So there's that component to ductwork. They also, when they connect each joint, they'll also use a ductwork glue on the inside. So they'll glue both sides, connect them, run these along the outside, and again, if they call for insulation, they'll have the insulation run around them as well. And usually when you're installing ductwork, especially vertically, you do one piece at a time. You actually install a lot of this stuff once each piece is in place. We're looking at kind of where they've been installing the insulation around the duct. Duct sizing, they come in all different shapes and sizes. They're ovals, squares, big, small, rectangular, square. Well, the sizing of a duct is always determined by the space that you're supplying or you're refreshing. So if you're supplying a larger area, you're obviously going to have a larger duct. And those calculations are not complex, but there's several different numbers involved, and that's based off of the size of your room. That's going to determine the size of your duct. And a lot of times you can get like a duct calculator. It'll tell you how much, basically how much air is pushed through a ductwork at a time. So that's all calculated very carefully to make sure you have the right size duct for everything. You can run a duct calculator and kind of determine different sizing. So if you have a certain space you need to get through and it's too long on one side, you can kind of resize the duct. As long as it meets the same CFM requirement, you're fine to use that different size duct. But that's basically how it works. And usually our plans and specifications will call that out, for different spaces. So like here you can actually see that's a 12-inch round duct right there. There's different call outs on different ones, and they'll kind of determine like a 12 by 20 duct. That's a supply duct there. They're all called out. And again, that 1600 CFM, that's the number that has to be paid attention to. So technically 1600 CFM could be, you could technically modify those duct sizes if you had to, as long as they're still able to handle that 1600 CFM capacity. We're in one of the bathrooms on the third floor units, and as you can kind of see just by looking at it, this material is a little different than this. Obviously, this is your standard drywall. This is a water-resistant tile backer board, is technically what it's called. Our tiler contractor will actually adhere his tile directly to this board. Again, something special about it. It's a little more, it's a little harder as far as material goes. It's also water resistant as far as that material goes. But that's a specific product that they put in bathrooms, in wet walls, around tubs, when tile gets installed. And technically, you put this backer board in tub areas or shower areas, even if there isn't tile, because usually there's some sort of bath liner, whether it's a plastic or a metal. These tubs are actually metal. But no matter what's installed in that shower or tub area, usually you see this material installed before whatever finished product goes on the walls happens. So.
This is good. So that's it for Flux City Weekly. I appreciate you chiming in, listening to me ramble. Please like, subscribe, comment below. I don't mean to talk with food in my mouth, but I was hungry. I'll see you next week.